Speaking of football, Sam Yarnell, that is where we begin things with Week 11 in the league. And there's not enough time, and this is why we have a lot of leftovers on Tuesday, which we will tomorrow. I may not even book a guest for tomorrow because there's so much to get to from this weekend. I just want to say this, and I don't do this for Sam, because if anybody knows me, I would actually not talk about the Bills just to spite Sam. But it's impossible not to talk about Josh Allen, who had 6 touchdowns yesterday. Now, I want to put this in perspective. Justin Fields, I think, for the entire season has 11 touchdowns, both rushing and throwing combined. Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns yesterday alone. I want you to think about that. And we're not talking about a murderer's row of receivers or anything like that. We're talking about Josh Allen having 6 touchdowns on his own throwing and rushing yesterday. Just an enormous effort from him and the Bills in a win over Tampa Bay. And by the way, I wouldn't mind seeing, not that it will happen, I wouldn't mind seeing those two teams play in a Super Bowl, Sam.
No, not at all. And I mean, obviously, people remember the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being my preseason Super Bowl pick. I'm sitting on a ticket for the Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl. I said it last week. I said it the week before, right? I still think very highly of these Buccaneers, no matter how much people want to poo-poo them for winning their division. Oh, okay, cool. Whatever, people. Yeah, on the Josh Allen thing, the 6 touchdowns is cool. I'm not going to lie. He didn't play a great game. Does anyone think that he played a great game? I understand that, like, six touchdowns, ooh, gaudy, fun. Yeah, man, like, one of them was a tush push. It was a couple of layups. Like, I get that, I think there's one other person in NFL history who's done it twice, which is what Josh Allen has now done twice in his career, score 6 touchdowns in a game. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Josh Allen played the best game of his life yesterday or the best game of any quarterback in the league yesterday. It wasn't. He threw 2 bad interceptions. He didn't take good care of the football, made some bad decisions down the stretch, and he'll be the first guy to tell you that. I think he said something to that effect in his post-game press conference. The Bills played good, complimentary football down the stretch to beat a good football team in a very good football game, Jason. But I see all these people, as a Bills fan, as a Josh Allen lover, I see all these people coming out today talking about, oh, Josh Allen this, Josh Allen that. It wasn't even his best game of the season yesterday.
No, it wasn't. But still, anytime you see a guy throw up 6 touchdowns, I mean, the
numbers are gaudy. That is for sure.
The numbers are gaudy. It's certainly going to get your attention as Buffalo gets a win. And look, I mean, as much as we could talk about what Buffalo did, I want to stay in the AFC for a moment and talk about the injury for the Pittsburgh Steelers with Aaron Rodgers yesterday. Now, again, it is his non-throwing hand. Or non-throwing wrist in this case. And I've got to say this for Pittsburgh. I thought they were going to win this game. I had picked it on Friday. That's the knockout blow basically for the Bengals as far as probably making the playoffs is concerned at this point. And that's a good win for Pittsburgh to sort of nail things down in that game the way they did. Because say what you want about the Bengals without Joe Flacco, and we know how bad that defense is. But, defensively, the Steelers needed that kind of a performance, Sam.
They did. So there are a couple of takeaways from this game for me. First of all, did you see Mason Rudolph's stat line from when he came in? I think that Aaron Rodgers deserves a lot, maybe less credit than he's already been getting for the progress of that Steelers offense this year. And oh my gosh, maybe Arthur Smith finally figured out how to call an offense again. That might be on the table, actually, because Mason Rudolph came in and looked like absolutely no different. I might even argue better than Aaron Rodgers has for the majority of this season. I think that should speak volumes to where Aaron Rodgers is at in his career right now. Listen, this injury on the Steelers side, I honestly don't think it means very much because of what Mason Rudolph came in and did. I also had written this team off from making the playoffs before this game even started, kind of regardless of what they did in this game. The Ravens are just going to be nearly impossible to beat down the stretch. What I will say from the Bengals side, this game needs to, and you touched on it, Jason, this game needs to mean that Joe Burrow does not play this year. If Joe Burrow plays this year, you are doing nothing but a disservice to your organization for years to come.
I agree with you. I'm 100% on board with that. I don't even know why you put him back out there this year. And he is a gamer, and he's probably going to argue to get back in there, but I don't think he should be in there. Let's talk about the Chiefs here in the last minute and a half of the segment, because they lose in Denver yesterday, and hats off to the Broncos, who get this win. I am still not counting out the Kansas City Chiefs. I know Sam's already got the shovel with the dirt on it, ready to toss it on the coffin. I'm still not doing it because they could still wind up winning 12 games.
I mean, you can never do that to a team it's going to take a wooden stake to kill, right? But this may be the beginning of that wooden stake. I said it for weeks leading into this game. This was a must-win game for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they win must-win games. It's true. It's what they do in the Patrick Mahomes era. Until now. Until now, they've never been 5-5 through 12, going into week 12 of an NFL season in Patrick Mahomes' career. This is dire straits for the Kansas City Chiefs. Or as much as people who cover the Chiefs will come on this show and tell us it's not dire straits, it probably should be, because if it's not, then people need to start having their jobs called for. And I'll tell you this one last thing, because we're headed down a path, I think anyone can recognize it, even the sports books are finally catching up to it, of the Chiefs not making the playoffs, right? Their number now to miss the playoffs, plus 176. Wow. We're below 2-1 on the Chiefs to miss the playoffs. Here's the thing about people who want to say that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. There's one quarterback I can think of who's never missed the playoffs in his career, and he's coming off of winning the MVP. And if you still think Patrick Mahomes is better than him after he misses the playoffs, I don't know what to tell you at that point.
Oh, we're out of time in the segment, so I can't even argue with you. I don't know if I would, but I don't know if I would anyway. Welcome back to the show. Let's keep the conversation moving on the NFL. Bill Bender joins us in 10. Get into it with him on college football from the Sporting News. Sam and I were having an interesting debate during the break that I will not bring onto the show. So why am I bringing it up? Just because I want to tease you. We're going to talk about it tomorrow on the show. We were having a really good conversation that you're going to love it tomorrow, though, on the show. I promise you. It will work just as well tomorrow on the show. So we'll get to that. So Eagles win again, despite the fact that their offense is anemic. 2 weeks in a row where they haven't been able to do anything offensively, but they have shut down the Packers and the Lions in very convincing ways. Although I hate that pass interference call to basically end the game. I mean, that's just terrible. You can't make that call in that. But that pass interference, not that Detroit's going to probably get the football back and rush down and, run down the field and score 6 or 7 or whatever it be in that spot. But I can't stand that pass interference call there, and that's not why they lose the game. But I just needed to get that off my chest. Can I just say this, though? Can all these coaches, my God, would it kill you, Dan Campbell, to kick a field goal? I'm tired of hearing about this analytics stuff. You know how many times I see in the middle of a game, win probability 97%, and a team winds up losing the game? I'm tired of hearing about analytics. I'm tired of hearing about win probabilities. I know you're going to say, hey, okay, boomer. I get all that. But I have so had it. And oh, my God, Dan Campbell's calling plays for the Lions, and they win a game, and everybody goes nuts. Well, how'd that work out last night for you? Oh, they played a real defense? Oh, you mean Dan Campbell isn't, this amazing play caller? He's not I just can't. I can't with the whole Dan Campbell stuff, because we go so week to week in this league. And I watched that game last night, and I'm like, everybody thought Dan Campbell calling plays was going to be this magic elixir to fix, if you believed the Lions needed fixing, that was going to fix the Lions. But that Eagles defense, Sam, and it only feels like it's getting better right now as we get to the finish line. I don't know how thrilled, by the way, the NFL is going to be when we have a Super Bowl this year that's 17-14, which we could wind up with some of these teams that wind up in the postseason, but that's where we're headed.
Well, I don't know. We had a great Eagles defense last year that made it to the Super Bowl, and what was the final score there? Like 48-20 or whatever? But you're exactly right. This Eagles defense has stepped up over the last couple of weeks. That said, right, defense is something that is more volatile than anything when it comes to the NFL, right? And it's something
but it travels the best too.
It does. You're right. But it's also something that could go for coming into the season and through week 1, through week 2 even. We thought this Ravens defense was still going to be world beaters. Here we are in week 12 recognizing them as one of the top 5 worst defenses in football. So like these things change over the course of a season. That said, if you're the Eagles, you're getting hot at the right time, and it looks like Howie Roseman did it again with the Jalen Phillips trade for a 3rd-round pick from Miami. On the Detroit side, bad day at the office for Jared Goff. I mean, I feel kind of bad for Jared Goff, but also I feel like I can't feel bad for Jared Goff because I've been a Jared Goff defender staunchly, and tough day for me in that regard. He didn't look good in a good offense. In a conversation that we're having tomorrow is going to be very interesting where Jared Goff lands in that conversation, right? Another less well executed tease for tomorrow's show. But I'm not going to say that I'm worried about Detroit because, again, just like with the Bills when they lost that game on the road in Atlanta, right? You get to a primetime spot, weird things can happen throughout the NFL season, especially when you get to those middle weeks, which we are at the back half of, but regardless. I'm not going to hold this a ton against the Lions, but definitely credit to the Eagles, and they are rightful Super Bowl favorites coming off of this game right now going into Week 12.
Yeah, Dan Campbell's not Sean McVay. Let me just drop a little. Let me drop a little nugget on you. He's not Sean McVay.
He's no Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes a little bit on that. Rams beat the Seahawks. That was a huge game. When we talk about that. We're talking about 2 of the best teams in the NFC. Rams win that game. Sam Darnold looked like Sam Darnold, which is obviously going to get a lot of people talking. I don't go as crazy over one game like this. I'm done doing these wildly swinging overreactions at this point of the season because it's a mid-league this year where I don't think there is one hands down favorite to win the Super Bowl, and I'm just accepting again that we're back at that concept of a mid-league this year. So I'm not going to go as crazy as other people are about Sam Darnold, but I could understand that some people will.
Yeah, you saw a lot of small game Sammy on the timeline yesterday, and it's tough. It was like the first real test he had this season, and I mean, Pumpkin Darnold was right back where we all, remembered him from his last game in Minnesota.
I wonder how much of it is him. I wonder how much of it is him versus how much of it is in his head.
Oh, interesting.
And that, again, it's an impossible thing it's an impossible thing to quantify. But I wonder how much of it is getting into that spot and getting inside his own head when you watch some of the decision making and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that, the other layer to that is, right, how much different is that now than it was even 5 years ago, right? Think about how much this guy's career has changed over the course of just his time in the NFL. What I'll say with regard to the Seahawks is, Mike Macdonald did a really effective job through the first 10 weeks of the season, kind of managing this team and keeping them flying under the radar. Almost to the college kind of something that we'll get into with Bill Bender later in the show. It seems like as soon as they've gotten this attention of, the Seahawks are actually a contender, it seems like they've taken a step back. So I'm interested to see how Mike Macdonald, a younger head coach when it comes to, experience in the NFL, I'm interested to see how he kind of molds that and how this team shapes up over the next couple of weeks.
There are going to be a lot of things to get into in weekend leftovers on Tuesday's show. Just to give you a little a little peek ahead. Jacksonville doing what they did to the Chargers yesterday. Eye-opening. Chicago now leading the NFC North as we go into week 12. There is an argument that I want to make about Houston and the Texans that we have to get into on tomorrow's show as well, because they've stolen 2 games with a backup quarterback and are very much in the thick of the playoff picture. There is that to get to as well on the show. So a lot to talk about in weekend leftovers on Tuesday's show as we continue the NFL conversation. But when we come back, there is college football, and there is Bill Bender, and there is the sporting news for which he writes. And we'll get into all of it as we continue on this Monday Sports Wrap. Welcome back to into this Monday edition of the show. Keep the conversation moving on football. And in this case, we go to the collegiate ranks. Say hello to our friend Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Does a terrific job on all things football. Packers fan number one. Can you believe the Bears are leading that division, by the way, guys? The Chicago Bears going into week 12 of the NFL season will have the lead in the NFC North. Ben Johnson's got to be coach of the year, right?
They continue to win close games, and I'm a as a fan, they do make me nervous just because when you win that many close games and you have a quarterback like Caleb Williams, are they a finished product? No, but it's better than being the product that the Packers are right now, where they're struggling to, clawing for dear life to get by Jameis Winston, and an interim coach. So, I do think the Bears are in a decent spot, and the Lions continue to lose big games. It's going to be a fun race down the stretch.
It certainly is. But let's talk some college football, which is why we have you on here, and get into it here. The top line items, is it Texas losing, Oklahoma winning, and everything that sort of shifts as a result of that?
Well, I just think it's the SEC publicity machine now. Now you go from having Alabama, your big program, lose at home and turn the ball over and play pretty poorly to, we love Georgia. That's basically what's going to happen. Kirby Smart, it was an impressive fourth quarter, aggressive series of calls to knock Texas out. I think they knocked Texas out of the playoff picture too. But, for me, it's, Jason, does the SEC get 5 playoff teams now? And I think that path is wide open.
Bill, you and I talked on the show last week about how this could be an elimination game for Texas, but the SEC as a whole has kind of gotten confusing to me, and maybe I was just a little bit out of touch this weekend, but A&M nearly lost to South Carolina, and now the odds for who's going to win this SEC have completely shaken up. A&M still the strong favorite, but obviously Alabama with the loss has fallen very far down the list. How do you see this conference playing out? Who do you see winning it ultimately?
Well, the thing is, Alabama lost and Texas A&M should have lost. And now I think those are the two teams that are going to play in the SEC championship game if A&M can go to Texas and win. So the Longhorns will be in spoiler mode, whatever you want to call it. I actually like spoiler mood a little bit better. And if that happens, you're going to get Alabama and Georgia in the SEC championship game. Such an advantageous place for Georgia to be in the SEC clubhouse, even though they play Georgia Tech next week.
And is that why ultimately all this stuff sort of works itself out because of so many of these SEC teams playing each other, Bill?
I spend so much time on these conference tiebreakers, and they so often come to the most logical conclusion anyway, right? We love the chaos, but if I were betting, I think Texas could beat Texas A&M. I'm not sure they will. So I think we'll end up with Texas A&M and Alabama in Atlanta and Georgia right there. The interesting thing, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week, is let's say Georgia loses to Georgia Tech, or Alabama loses the SEC championship game, and then, or Georgia would lose to Georgia Tech, lose the SEC championship game. Are you going to let a 3-loss Georgia or a 3-loss Alabama in the playoff at that point? The answer is yes, but it'd be fun to watch the SEC trip over themselves to say, you can't leave a team that made the SEC championship game out of the playoff. Those kind of things that they were arguing against with the ACC last year.
So I know we talked maybe even last week, but definitely a couple of weeks ago about the opposite of this situation. But you saying, what if Georgia Tech beats Georgia, put a weird circumstance in my mind. If Georgia Tech beats Georgia, and at that point they're 10-1 going to the ACC championship game, and they lose the ACC championship game, is there a world we get 2 ACC teams in the college football playoff now after thinking there was a chance we get none as recently as 3 weeks ago?
Georgia Tech would be the only team that would entertain being an at-large team. And they're going to be in the spotlight the next 2 weeks. They play Pitt. That'll be a good game. That's basically for a trip to Charlotte. And then the next week they play Georgia. So if they were 11-1, went to Charlotte, got beat by Virginia in fluky fashion, they would probably have a decent case as an at-large bid over a, say, 3-loss SEC team or a team like Vanderbilt. What if that was the last debate, that we're 11-2 Georgia Tech loser or 10-2 Vandy not playing for anything on conference title weekend, Sam, I think the answer would be Georgia Tech at that point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Would it? I don't know. You tell me.
I agree. I think I agree with you. It's the ACC. I am just so confused by this conference. And I think, that game that you mentioned this week between Pitt and Georgia Tech is going to play a lot into how I feel about that conference as a whole.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a long way to go. That is the one conference that does have some room for chaos, because the problem in the ACC is Miami is the highest ranked team. But Miami also, I mean, they could be a candidate for an at-large bid if you want to press the Notre Dame argument a little bit, which they will probably lose. But they don't have an obvious path to the ACC championship game. So that's the problem. Of the four, I think there's still a little bit of room for what in the world happened over the next 2 weeks.
What is the path? You said it's, they don't have a path right now. Can you make one for Miami?
They need I just sketched this out, and it's kind of complicated. They need Georgia Tech to lose, and they need everybody to basically lose again, and they need to become this like 2-loss stew of teams. They need Duke to lose again. They need SMU to lose because SMU has that head-to-head.
Sam is rooting for whatever you're saying right now. Sam is rooting for at the Agent of Chaos.
This sounds so fun. This picture that you're painting in my mind sounds amazing.
I sketched it out. Like, if you get this 2-loss gross combination of teams, they do need Pitt to beat Georgia Tech so they can turn around and beat Pitt the next week and knock Pitt out, and it just creates a mess at that point. And they could use a Louisville win and a Belichick win against Duke. I mean, the crazy part about all this is that Duke at 5-5 still has a path.
Oh my God!
When you look at it, I'm telling you, you look at the path and you're going to be like, how? And then you're like, that's not all that ridiculous.
You mentioned Bill Belichick, and we have a minute left in the segment, so I gotta fit this in. Did you see the end of the Wake Forest game, Bill? What did you make of him calling the unnecessary timeout and the dead fish handshake at the end with the Wake Forest coach in a blowout?
I think Bill Belichick needs to coach the Giants.
No, stop it. Stop. We don't want him.
Okay,
we don't want him, and he's not coming.
Segment killer.
Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is the next head coach of the Giants. Nobody else.
Okay.
Bill Bender. It's the quickest way to get yourself uninvited to this show. Bill Belichick. Put him out to pasture. We're coming back. Welcome back to the show. We have re-invited Bill Bender to come back, even though he suggested that Bill Belichick be the next head coach of the New York Football Giants. I will throw this helmet in the trash if that happens. Gone. Only Mike McCarthy could be the next head coach of the Giants. Does it feel like and look, I get who they're playing. But does it feel like Notre Dame's trend line is going upward right now as we get closer to the end of the season, Bill?
Yeah, they're awesome right now. They continue to hammer teams by double digits. They have a running game that is just imposing, and it's not just Jeremiah Love. It's Jadarian Price. It's the quarterback play of C.J. Carr, their offensive line. Defense is playing much better over the past month. I mean, I will say it, like I keep rotating these teams of I want to see them play Ohio State. Well, Notre Dame's starting to become the answer to that. I know we'll do Georgia and we'll get to see them play Indiana, but Notre Dame's played with Ohio State. I don't know if they can beat this Buckeyes team, but they're one that I think could entertain playing 4 quarters with them the way they're playing right now.
Bill, the G5 got crazy again this weekend. It was South Florida falling to Navy. So now the conversation for that best G5 bid into the college football playoff seems to have shrunk to North Texas, Tulane, and James Madison. How are you seeing that all play out as James Madison's basically a shoo-in to win the Sun Belt? Do you think it'll be somebody out of the American, or will it be the Sun Belt champion to get the playoff bid?
I mean, North Texas could force this argument because they're playing very well. They're heavy favorites this weekend. A really good look at the conference championship game. And, but James Madison, I always watch when the teams get ranked that haven't been ranked in a while and how they deal with that attention. And they dealt with it just fine over the weekend against App. And obviously their big game is, strangely, this weekend against Washington State. The Cougars played Ole Miss tough. And this is a dangerous game for them. I know it's a 2-touchdown spread, but I think that looks high with the way the Cougars play defense.
Just keep going on the G5. Come on, Sam. It's your world. We're just living in it.
I will say, Jason, as much as I came on this show last week rooting for chaos, it really didn't live up to all the chaos that I expected it to. I mean, outside of that, Tulane's argument really doesn't seem like it holds water to me unless they go on some miracle run and with John Summerall and win that conference. I don't know. To me, I think Bill hit the nail on the head. It's going to come down to North Texas and James Madison and how the committee views those two, unless James Madison loses to a Pac-2 team.
Pac-2. There it is. Like, yeah. No, and I do think I was like, Tupac or Pac-2. You can do it either way. This James Madison that's who we have projected in right now. And what a story that would be for the Sun Belt to get them in. And, sometimes the committee just looks at the wins and losses. That said, the American Conference has been the best conference of those, and they've got a little bit of a mess here with a bunch of one-loss teams. They also have a scenario where East Carolina could get in business there in the last couple of weeks. So that sometimes having a really entertaining league with some parity can hurt your playoff chances. This is further proof of that.
Well, Bill, are they dreading that scenario, though? Does the committee and the NCAA, do they dread this scenario where you put in these great stories like a James Madison, and then they go in and get their doors blown off, and people start questioning, all right, what are we doing with all these teams we're inviting into the playoffs? And then it does become, an invitational of just those giant conferences, these mega conferences, and those smaller teams get pushed out because they come in like a James Madison or somebody, to throw in your G5, any of your G5s that come in and get dusted in the opening game.
Yeah, because Vanderbilt or Tennessee or USC is going to be sitting there being like, why are they in? We played the schedule we played. I mean, USC theoretically could finish 9-3. Texas with Arch Manning and that defense sitting there. If James Madison goes and plays Georgia and loses 38-3, that complaint's going to get louder.
That's why it just feels like this whole. It's why it feels like this whole system's going to be a moving target constantly, because I think year to year there's going to be overreactions to certain things we see in these playoffs.
Yeah, I agree, and it's one of those deals where the SEC and the Big Ten, when they're left out at the expense of things like that, that's when it gets loud. It happened in the New Year's Day 6 era. You would see, why are we watching, although some of those games were close, but when a Western Michigan would get beat or a, Memphis would get blown out, we would overreact like that. And I still like having a group of 5 team in there. Last year was proof that, hey, they competed. Boise State competed, but I'm not sure that's going to be the case every year.
Bill, away from the actual game on the field, I know we haven't talked about coaching in a minute, but there were rumors over the weekend of James Franklin going to Blacksburg, Virginia to take the Virginia Tech job or talk about the Virginia Tech job. We've got a minute and a half. How do you see James Franklin potentially fitting in for that program that's known nothing but Beamer ball for the last, 30 years?
Oh, he would give them identity. I think that's the big thing. They haven't had that since Beamer Ball left. I mean, when I think of Virginia Tech, I think of Beamer Ball and ESPN Game Day and Michael Vick and blocked punts. And, that's not the James Franklin identity, but he's from that part of the country. I think he could recruit the high schools in that country very well, which they do have really good high school football. He won't have to worry about playing Ohio State, Michigan, and being in that spotlight as much. I'm not saying the top 10 record won't come back at some point, but I think he could build that program into an ACC contender in a conference where we just discussed that Duke with 5 losses is in the ACC championship hunt. So it would be a home run hire for Virginia Tech, in my opinion.
I just wonder, though, based on what you're saying, and we don't have time to flush this out, he leaves and goes there, means he's going to have to make another move at some point. Would he rather just wait and see if something bigger and better comes up?
Maybe, and I'm sure that'll be part of the interview process with him as they go through it.
Bill Bender, The Sporting News, does a terrific job on football. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
We're coming back. Draymond Green in trouble? What? Welcome back to the show. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes with some baseball and a little Monday Night Football preview. Let's talk some NBA. We should be talking about some of the great things Stephen Curry has been doing since coming back from a little injury, but instead we get to talk about Draymond Green, which is just the way Draymond Green wants it. The latest example, Sam Yarnell, of Draymond Green being Draymond Green. If you didn't see it last night, here it is. An incident with a fan. Here it is. So Draymond goes up to a fan who had been heckling him from the front row. Fan's not backing down, although Draymond says he did. Fan's not backing down. Draymond's talking to him. They're having a conversation. By the way, where is security? Hello to our friends watching on Gulf Sports and Entertainment Network. Where was security at the Pelicans game? They're just watching this guy go face-to-face with Draymond Green and no security for like 10 seconds? Like, you're right next to the stanchion. How are you not over there dealing with that situation? That's one. But two, if you're Draymond, I mean, really? You got to go and get in the guy's face. There's so many ways this thing, again, could have gone sideways. And I'm still waiting for another Malice at the Palace sort of moment that we're going to get at one of these games one of these days, because fans so close to the action, fans more emboldened than ever to do something stupid to get their 5 minutes on camera. And this guy was being an idiot. Sit down in your seat. You don't need to go and get in Draymond's face. What are we doing? He gets a red card from the security, like a conduct card they hand him. I mean, come on. What? He didn't even get thrown out of the game, the fan. The fan was still there, Sam. Draymond, after the game, explaining why he was so mad at this fan, and this just takes the cake for me.
What happened in the second quarter with that fan?
He just kept calling me a woman. You know, it was a good joke at first, but you can't keep calling me a woman. I got 4 kids, one on the way. Can't keep calling me a woman. So, you know, he got quiet though, so it was fine.
I was gonna say, what did he say when you got over there?
Well, he was talking at first, you know, and then you get a little closer, and he didn't really say much else. But, you know, it's fine. We move on.
What did the
Yeah, he just kept calling me a woman's name. I am not.
official came over? I mean, were you guys discussing?
Yeah, he just told me,
discipline?
I got it. I've heard him over and over and over again. You've handled it well. Don't get yourself in no trouble. I'll take care of it. Courtney was great.
How he doing that?
All right, Sam. Take it from both sides here. You know, Draymond doing what he did, the fan doing what he did. By the way, the fan kept calling him Angel Reese, which was kind of appropriate because Draymond had a bunch of rebounds and wasn't scoring. It is a great joke. I agree. And if that's the thing that pushes you to go and get in a fan's face, Draymond, I mean, it's on you a little bit.
Yeah, and I know that Draymond Green does his great, wonderful podcast with our friend Jordan Schultz, and he's a great personality. This is one of the softest things you'll ever see in the NBA. This is unbelievably soft from a guy who's got multiple rings, and you're concerned with some dude sitting courtside who makes, if he's lucky, 1/10 as much money as you. Draymond Green, what are you doing? That's the first part of it. The second part is absolutely great line by the fan. Could not be better. Draymond Green went 3 of 13 from the field in this game and had 10 rebounds. That is the perfect, almost exact me-bound stat line. So, Draymond Green, what I would recommend if you want to not have to deal with this is, one, retire because you're well past your prime, and quite frankly, I think there are a lot of arguments that have to be made for why you should be on an NBA roster than the opposite. And second of all, Draymond Green, if you don't want to have to deal with something like this, maybe just make shots. I mean, when you're riding, you know, the coattails of a guy named Moses Moody to a win over the Pelicans, to remain 3 games above 500, clinging to a play-in spot, I don't really think you've got the stature in this league anymore to be confronting fans on the sideline. So yeah, great move by the fan. Could not have been better. Unfortunately, the Pelicans lost, but that's not even unfortunate because they're playing for draft stock. So big win for the Pelicans organization. Big win for that fan. Big loss for Draymond Green. Almost as big of a loss for the Warriors organization. Also, Steph Curry, we talked about Draymond Green shooting being horrible in this game.
Oh,
Steph Curry was 2 for 11.
I know, but he had 49.
No productivity out of their stars, Jason. It's killing this team.
No, but Curry, the last couple games before that, Curry had some huge games. I mean, he single-handedly beat the Spurs the other night. So I'm not worried about Curry. I mean, at 49 and 46 the 2 games prior. I'm not worried about Curry. It is a question of where the rest of that offense is going to come from after Curry, though, on a night in, night out basis. You know, Jimmy Butler, 6 of 8 last night, 18 points. You know, and you did need a heroic effort from Moses Moody. I still love Podziemski, though, and I like him coming off the bench for that team as well. I'm a big fan of Brandon Podziemski, so... I mean, look. They're probably a play-in team. I get it. Maybe they're an 8 seed. But if you were expecting anything else other than that from the Warriors this year, you were probably deluding yourself anyhow.
I think eventually Warriors fans, and now this is away from the Draymond Green, but totally into the basketball thing in the last 30 seconds. But if you're a Warriors fan, you have to eventually be upset with the complacency this organization is showing. Steph Curry's numbers are trending down. It's as simple as that. His shooting percentage, his efficiency rate, they're all trending down over his career. The Warriors need to make change, and it starts with Draymond Green.
Well, it starts with a lot of things, but that organization's made the decision they're just going to keep going all in year after year. This is what you get. All right, just about time to put the reps on this Monday edition of the show. Tomorrow, we got NFL weekend leftovers, reaction to Monday Night Football, and a whole bunch more. We didn't get any college basketball in today, but UConn with a big win over BYU in a big top 5 showdown this weekend. UConn's in the middle of a crazy stretch. They got like 4 out of 5 games against top 25 teams as they sort of build their resume already for when we get to March and Selection Sunday and all that stuff. We'll get some college basketball in later in the week. But Sam, a couple of reminders before we go. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. You can listen to this show Monday through Friday, 45 minutes. It's perfect while you're driving to work, in the shower. It works just as well in audio as it does in video, I promise you, because when we play things like Draymond Green's comments, you don't need to see them. You just need to hear them. So there is that. Also, Sports Wrap with Jason Page has a YouTube channel. If you have not checked it out yet, make sure to go and do so. The show that we do on TV Monday through Friday, available on YouTube Monday through Friday, commercial free. It's available early in the afternoon. A pro tip, you can get it there before you get it anywhere else. Subscribe to our Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Sports Wrap shorts are there as well. When news breaks, we're on YouTube breaking it down, talking about it, giving you all the latest information around the biggest games as well. Sports Wrap Jason Page on Instagram, Sports Wrap Jason Page on TikTok as well for Sports Wrap Shorts. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam, and the first shoe dropping when it comes to the MLB offseason, and that is Josh Naylor getting a 5-year deal from the Mariners. I love it. Fantastic move by that organization to keep one of the key components to them making their run that they did this year.
Yeah, it was an all right deal. I honestly wasn't happy with it.
Why?
I thought that their best option was move either Harry Ford or Cal Raleigh to first base. That's what made the most sense organizationally to me, and it also would have saved them millions of dollars for an ownership group that likes to save money occasionally. But yeah, at the end of the day, you bring back a guy who the fan base fell in love with over the course of a Cinderella type run. So
but I
don't think
winners.
It's a bad deal. Don't get me wrong. It's just if I were sitting in that front office, there's a very clear and obvious different direction that I would have gone in. They are probably now going to trade Harry Ford, which is a little bit upsetting to me.
but I love Josh. Josh Naylor wins everywhere he goes. I want those guys on my roster. He does. I mean, he's made the playoffs. He's in the playoffs. Every time you turn around, you watch a postseason, Josh Naylor's in it. I want those guys on my roster. It's just me. Aaron Judge, your AL MVP. I know this happened on Thursday night. We didn't get to talk about it on Friday, though, because Sam was off, so we didn't get to really get into it too much on the show. I wanted to give you a moment to react. The vote pretty much was indicative of how close we thought this race was. If it had gone 17 votes, first place votes for Cal Raleigh and 13 for Aaron Judge, I would have had probably the same reaction as I did to it being 17 first place votes for Judge and 13 for Raleigh. It really could have gone either way, and I think the vote was indicative of that.
Yeah, I think what's so impressive is if you look at the last 5 years, right, there have been theoretically 10 MVPs up for grabs, right? Over 5 in the NL, 5 in the AL. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani was in the American League for 3 of those years, so you can reduce that by 3 to 7. And of those 7 available MVPs, Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani has won every single one for the last 5 years.
That's an amazing stat. And by the way, I have to correct myself. In the SportsWrap short that I did on that, I said Judge had won 3 straight MVPs. He had won 2 straight MVPs. Ohtani won the one that I thought Judge had won. Just want to make sure I get that out there because people have corrected me on the SportsWrap short in the comments. I got you guys. I got that wrong. That's on me. Sam, last but not least, a Monday Night Football game tonight. Man, primetime has had it rough lately, and I mean rough. Cowboys Raiders tonight in Las Vegas. I see all the Cowboys fans walking around town here in Vegas, Sam. Raiders plus 3.5. That place is going to be filled with Cowboys fans. 50.5 is your total, Sam Yarnell. Where are you going?
I'd probably lay it with the Cowboys, and my mind is telling me over just because it feels like these are two teams that don't play a ton of defense. And who's quarterbacking for the Raiders tonight? Is it still Geno? Have they not benched him yet?
I don't think the Raiders can score enough. See, I don't know. I like Dallas minus 3.5. I don't think I'd touch the total, though. I don't think I can touch the total. The Raiders just can't score.
Yeah, but
I know the Cowboys.
Like
yeah, I know the Cowboys' defense is terrible. The Raiders are so
like
bad.
Like a 40-14 game. I could totally see this being. I could see this being. But even the other way, right? I could see this being a 30-27 game. I totally could. I think that we're going to get some points out in Vegas tonight. I like the Cowboys laying the 3.5 more than I like the over, but I'll probably end up on both of those tonight.
Don't wish that on Joe Buck and Troy Aikman tonight. Don't do that to those guys. They deserve better. Nobody wants to see that kind of a spit show tonight in Las Vegas. But we'll see. We'll have a recap on it tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a banger because it feels like it's been a while since we had one in prime time.
It feels like we're due for one. I agree.
It does. I agree. That's going to wrap it up for us on this Monday edition of the show. Thanks to Bill Bender for dropping by. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. Thanks to all of you at home for watching. I'm Jason Page. We'll see you back here on Tuesday for another edition of SportsWrap, weekend NFL leftovers, and more. We'll see you then. Okay. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as exciting. They're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.